Episode 217. I'm here tonight with Jared Schneiderman.
Hey, everybody.
Alexis Schlegel.
What's up, Matt?
Alex Miller is back in town.
Yo.
Hell yeah. And we got a newcomer, Paul Onheiser. Paul, this is your first time on the podcast, right?
Yes, it is.
I know I've talked to you about it before, probably for a few years, dude.
We just never could get it to work out or scheduling, and then I moved out of state far, far away.
You did, but they say you never forget your first time, so...
It's the first time for everything. That's what they always say.
We've got that going. Yeah, man. So, number one tonight. What do we have here? So we've got Memorial Day. That's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow. What does Memorial Day mean to you, Matt?
Dude, I feel like you kind of like put me on the spot, dude.
I did.
At least see how I tried to defer that.
Now, well, okay, so I don't know. The first post that I saw about it was like one of my friends posted this modern day photo of a bunch of like caskets of soldiers that died on the battlefield, and he posted something like "Thank you for your service," and then I saw that and I was just thinking like, like what service? Like what country attacked us? How are they actually defending our freedom? And I'm not really saying is anything bad about the troops. I'm just saying we're in these like fucking bullshit wars, and we've been in these bullshit wars like our entire fucking lives. We've all seen it. Mm-hmm. Alex is a veteran. Alex is my vet card.
Yeah, man.
Okay, and he's sitting here, and he actually went overseas and shit. And he's not getting triggered by what I'm saying. It's
no, not triggered at all, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a shame that those men had to die for bullshit. It's not fighting for our freedom. It's not self-defense. It's world policing.
Yeah, it's
reckless.
Exactly,
and it's murder.
It's a shame. Like at this time of year, this time of year, I was just flipping on talk radio, and they're like telling you how to be a nationalist. Like they're basically giving you the orders or the propaganda. Like this is a weekend to thank, or not even to thank, because you shouldn't say Happy Memorial Day. It should be a solemn day and think about the men that sacrificed and all this bullshit. Like sacrificed what? They died for nothing. Let's face it. Vietnam, Korea, pretty much the Iraq War, Afghanistan. Like it's insane. It's like. I think people need to really take tomorrow to reflect that we've been involved in way too many fucking bullshit wars, and far too many people have died for no fucking reason.
I want to just flex your military card again.
Oh,
so you were in the military for how long?
8 years.
And
I was one of the lucky veterans.
What branch were you in?
I was in the Air Force, the Chair Force. So don't have that much street cred. Never saw a lot of action, thank God. But yeah, I mean, it's just, and I think a lot of people, if you talk to a lot of vets, I think they'll, especially nowadays,
I think so. I mean,
they'll look back and be like, "The fuck was I doing over in Afghanistan? What the fuck was I doing in Iraq?" If they're honest with themselves.
Yeah, we've had a number of veterans on this podcast, and they've felt the same way that I have.
Exactly.
And it's, I mean, I think that's cool because it just reaffirms my belief that I'm not like a horrible person for saying that. I mean, I once again, I think it's a shame that any of those men had to die. It's a shame that anybody dies, But, what are you really dying for?
Exactly. It's just the military-industrial complex. That's the saddest part of it is the fact that, that you have young, impressionable kids basically going overseas, thinking
because they saw like Nickelback play a song about joining the military when they were going to see Harold and Kumar,
or seeing some poster and seeing these Marine posters or join the Army and everything's going to be great. It's just it's a shame.
I remember the mall that I grew up in when I was in high school. There was
You grew up in a mall?
the mall I grew up near. It had a recruitment little kiosk, but they had like Call of Duty going, and they'd have the impressionable come play Call of Duty.
Okay.
It's like, hey, isn't it fun to shoot zombies or whatever?
Jesus.
I gotta say, Call of Duty probably is just a bunch of video game propaganda for kids. But I mean, I fell for that shit, dude. Because I played a hell of a lot of Call of Duty, and
And you felt good doing it, like, I'm getting the Nazis, man. I'm doing something.
No, I didn't really think of it like that. I thought of it as like playing Contra. I'm just playing a video game, having fun with some action, I've never been, like, when I was a kid, I remember, I think I was 9, 10 years old, and I told my dad, it was around the time of the Gulf War, and I told my dad, you know, I think when I grow up, I want to join the military. And my dad was like, don't do that. He's like, you know, all the wars that they fight today are bullshit. Now, and, you know, my dad's, he's, you know, pretty much, you know, fundamentalist, Republican, you know, usually supports Republican candidates.
That's surprising for a Republican to say, though.
Like, see, that's the thing. I don't think he would have said that amongst his friends talking politics. I think he said that when he was entertained with the idea of his son actually going and fighting. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's I think most sensible people wouldn't encourage their children to join the military. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot of people view it as an honor still.
Well, I mean, I think that's sad, dude, because, I mean, there's... You know, these people are dying for, I'd say, no good reason.
Yeah, and it's always like, thank you for your service. I get that shit all the time. It's like, don't
Yeah,
thank
well,
me for my service. Like,
Yeah, I mean, why don't these people just be pro-life for a second, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Well, there's like a whole backstory to the whole thank you to, you know, for the service, because a lot of the people who were in Vietnam, like at that time, Vietnam was so hated by the public that people would come home and, you know, the military people were being spat on. And there was sort of like a backlash against that sort of
now
culture.
it's just like, it's backlash, like the opposite
It's
way.
it's like positive lash. It's like, yeah, you're doing great. Well, but I'm kind of more in the conservative area when it comes to this. I want to support the troops, you know, because it's a career choice for some of these people. Some of these people need.
What do you mean, these people?
What you mean, these people?
Well, some people don't have opportunities like others, and they use the military.
That's
to kinda get
racist,
a leg
Paul.
up. Oh, I'm sure it is.
That's
For
racist.
Some people.
No, I'm just fucking
But,
around.
you know, I got you. But some people use the military to better their life situations,
Yeah.
and it just sucks that
Well,
the military is so
dude,
politicized.
It's okay. See, well, let's just take that. Some people use the military to better their life situations.
Right.
That's welfare, dude. It's you know, once again,
Yeah, but it's
like
service. You're providing a service.
Service to who? It's not service to me. It's not defending my freedom in any way, shape, or form. If anything, you know, it was us sticking our dicks in the hornet's nest of the Middle
Yeah,
East.
and I'm not
for so
disagreeing with
long.
any of that
And
stuff.
then 9/11, you know, bites us on the wiener.
Yeah.
And then you know everybody's all
True.
surprised. You know,
Wow.
so this is where
9/11
what the
bites us
service
on the
has
wiener.
got us. You know.
No, I don't disagree with you. I'm totally against the whole politics of, you know, the government's just be like, oh, well, we need to get control of some sort of oil wells over here in the Middle East so we can, you know, gain control of a region, and then we'll have another forward base in the world.
Exactly.
I'm
I mean,
totally against all
I'm
that
just saying,
stuff.
It's like essentially though, it's when you're saying about like respecting them, it's kind of like respecting the stormtroopers.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of life lessons you can learn
From stormtroopers?
No. From joining the military. Some of these people need direction in their life, and sometimes the military is a way to get direction. You get
I
instruction.
mean, I'd
you learn
rather see them get
skills.
direction from like any other place.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
sometimes they
that's
don't
just
have
a
that.
failure of the public schools.
That-
That's just
well,
a failure of
exactly,
government.
exactly.
It's just more failure of government. Like, hey, like you couldn't make anything out of your life after 12 years of being
publicly
stuck in this,
indoctrinated,
or
yeah.
you know,
No,
12
I mean,
grades of
you know,
of your life in a public, you know, indoctrination camp. Well, here now you're going to get the full-on indoctrination, and we're going to, you know, give you skills, and you're going to get all this training. Like they sell you all these bill of goods.
Yeah,
I mean, the
like-
Air Force, I was somewhat lucky, but
Paul,
I mean,
when's the last time it was?
When's
When's the last time it was national
jobs
defense?
in the Air Force?
Oh, that's probably World War II.
Exactly.
You know?
When's the
And
last
but
time it
I'm
was
not.
that-
So I don't disagree with you on all those points. I agree with you totally. I'm totally against the whole politicization of war and using kind of just America as the world police, because then the taxpayers are paying for it.
I mean,
But I'm not against people because it is a public service to a certain degree.
Okay, if you had a child, would you tell him to join the military?
Probably
Would you-
not. No.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell him against it. You know, not like force him to not do it, but
Yeah.
you know, it's like I'd be like, hey, no, don't.
But like I said, it's still a mixed bag for me because some people, like I said, it's a career choice for them. They want to go serve the United States
well, yeah,
government.
but I mean,
That's their
some people,
choice.
it's a career
Yeah, but a
choice to
hitman
sell
is, hitman
methamphetamines.
is also a career choice.
Yeah.
Dude, some
It's
people.
just not legal.
Dude, some people.
That's the only
True.
difference.
No, I mean, my point is,
But
people make.
legality does not.
Okay, you know,
equal
I
morality.
think it's probably a more commendable career choice to be a weed dealer. Because here's the thing, dude. At least then you're like providing a service to people that actually want it, right?
Right.
You know, and whereas like with troops, I mean, it's like I don't want to be extorted to pay for these bullshit wars, you know, and. I mean, I think it's bullshit that it's a career choice. I think the U.S. government has driven up the price of college through giving everybody a student
that's
loan.
a whole other separate issue, but it's
and
interrelated, because then you go to the military to get your debt forgiven. So it's like a cycle. It's like, here, we're going to get you stuck in the school system, and then you're going to be in insurmountable amounts of debt. Join the military.
And that's how they get most impressionable kids.
Join the
because
military
they're
or
not
work for the
joining-
government. Because if you work for the government, they'll also forgive a lot of your debt.
Well, that's a whole other issue,
if
too,
you-
because
right.
they've only accepted, I think, 0.2%, or it's some astronomically low percent of people who've been in government service for the last decade and a half. And they're like, oh, sorry, you didn't have your paperwork right. Or
Oh, well, yeah. Well, they're, of course, not going to actually do it, but they will advertise that they do. So we were like, oh, well, I'll just go work for the government and get a guaranteed paycheck for doing not a lot of work.
Just my point being is that
You know.
there's positives and negatives. I think right now it's mostly negative, but for some people it does help them kind of turn their life around and find some direction.
Yeah, but, I mean,
in what they need to do. I mean, and you don't have to be in the military for like a decade or 2 decades. Some people just join for 4 years, and what did I miss in life?
some
There's
people-
so much stuff that I didn't partake in. And
some people
use those
bomb
experiences to
hospitals,
move.
dude.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
No, but what are you going to... I'm just saying it's not the most commendable career choice. It's, like, I get where you're coming at it from the like, romantic, we were all educated in schools.
Oh, I don't believe that at all.
No, but I mean, like,
I'm just saying it's-
freedom in America, and they're
It
fighting
can't all
for freedom,
be negative. You know what I mean?
But I don't know. I mean, like, I think if you could show me an instance where there's actually national defense, I think, just show me the instance. That's all I'm asking for.
I don't think most people don't even think about it. I mean, they just, they're listening to the propaganda machine all the time, the TV, the mainstream news, where it's just, Memorial Day is just, it's just, they think it's
Jared over there watches
all
a
these
lot of
wars.
CNN.
Yeah, like without all these,
Yeah, that's me.
Well, the problem
the
is
wars
that
we're involved in, we actually, had to be involved, and thank you for these men and women who died because we have freedom. And it's like, no, we didn't. Like,
Dude, it's
when
like
my dad's
Memorial
at
Day
Vietnam
every day, every fucking Ravens game. It's fucking
yeah,
Memorial
well,
Day.
everywhere you go, it's just this nonstop, and that's where you can't. Where this constant support the troops, remember our servicemen and women that gave the ultimate sacrifice, like this nonstop propaganda machine, it doesn't allow us to separate the human aspect of it, where you're like, hey, I got a buddy who's a veteran, or my neighbor, or my grandfather, or my dad, or whatever, to separate it from the fact that these policies that our government is involved in are fucking wrong. It's insane. It's immoral. What we're doing overseas, the cost of lives, the cost of, and it's just all just for the benefits, the military industrial complex. It doesn't benefit. You think of, like, I look at tomorrow like, that's sad. Like, someone died, like, for what? You know what I mean? Like, I just look at it like it's just a failure of government. It shouldn't be something that's like revered, but there are all these everywhere. There's going to be parades and flaggetry left and right, and it's
that's
just
the whole
it's just
patriotism
and
thing.
nationalism and just
Nationalism,
that's just not and
for
it's
sure.
it's separating that support the troops has gotten to like, don't even question anything, don't question any policies, just fuck yeah, like
Well,
our boys are over there.
I don't agree
like,
with that either, because
I mean,
that's kind
that's
of
a
what
whole
happened though. That's kind of what
I
happened.
mean, I
though.
think
It's like
from a
you can't
strategic
separate
point,
Yeah.
going after the individuals per se is probably not the best idea. It's better to go after the policies, or at least the individuals that are the ones that are furthering those policies, like your John Boltons and your,
yeah, exactly.
those kinds of guys, Pompeos, and it doesn't
The
really
neocons.
help to like just to necessarily attack someone who has been in the army per se. But that doesn't mean that we have to do the opposite, in my opinion.
I think there's middle ground to be found. It doesn't have to be.
I mean,
all
honestly,
one way
in
or
my
the
opinion,
other.
I just look at them as victims. Really, I look at them as victims of propaganda
for sure,
and victims of the things you were saying about how they get piled on with debt, and then this is their way out.
No,
I
I mean,
that doesn't
honestly-
necessarily let them off the hook for any moral decisions they make, but.
Well, yeah, but
It's still hard. It's still hard when you grow up in a public school system and you have like recruiters come into the school, and you have, your parents who were also underwent the same indoctrination. It's really hard to kind of break free from that unless you.
That false patriotism.
I mean, you just kind of have to get lucky. You have to get
Unless
lucky
you
and
get
meet,
into-
meet yourself a Matt Bergman, or happen to read like a Ron Paul book or something, and you're like, oh, wait a second.
Or you get into punk rock.
Or but it's still it's most people don't, like, most
Well, I
people
mean-
do not. Most people just live like normal, in quotation marks, lives where they don't encounter any sort of counterculture cultural influences.
And
and they end up just towing the line, you know. And
I've met a lot of people who join the military because they graduate high school, and they don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
And some people even join it because they think they're going to end up in prison. Like their family's like, yeah, but how? I mean, that's pretty fucked up. Like, how fucked up does it have to be where you're like, yeah, go get yourself killed? For your family to say that. But like I've met a lot of kids who join the military just because of the high price of college.
What does that sound?
I have no idea.
The laundry's done.
Yeah, I've met a lot of kids who have joined the military because the price of college is so damn high. And who's made the price of college high? The United States government has made the price of college astronomical.
And then they made it too that all other forms of debt forgiveness don't apply to.
Right.
So that your only debt forgiveness is work for the state for 15 years or whatever it is, or join the military. It's.
Right, you can't just declare bankruptcy.
Yeah, there's no means to do that. It's crazy. But if you were a private institution and you saw, hey, the government's going to federally insure any amount of money, why would you not raise your prices? You know, and that's exactly what happened. Prices skyrocketed. It was like 200% in the first year, and it was just from there on. Now we're at this point where some of these like multiple college professors or half the campus is making 6-figure salaries. And then the students are paying like $60,000 just for a semester. And you're like, what's going on?
Ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And you're not getting that much value.
You're not.
It'd be one thing if you were like, well, if you go to this college, you're guaranteed to make $200K when you get out. And it's like, all right, well, $60K a semester up front, that's not a bad deal, right? But now they're a lot of college graduates are getting out and they're making like minimum wage.
Well, that and then you have more and more degrees that have no practical application.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got a degree in social study engineering sciences, and you're like, well,
right.
What jobs are involved in that?
Actually, Alexis is working on gender studies.
Yes.
Yeah, I've discovered that there are two.
American history.
Whoa.
There are two.
That's a controversial topic.
Yes. No. I don't know. I'm new to it, but I think. No. But so Memorial Day, I don't know, maybe when you're out barbecuing or hanging out, maybe take the time to maybe discuss with individuals tomorrow and just like reflect on the day that this probably shouldn't be something that should be celebrated. We probably should be questioning the very fact that we do get involved in these wars and that these deaths are all for naught.
And cherish the life of your family and friends. Don't send them to the military.
Definitely.
Smoke weed every day.
Speaking of that.
Speaking of which, hold on, we got to get the laundry real quick.
Oh, yeah.
No.
But
on the topic of the military, though, so the Army, the U.S. Army, the official Twitter account.
This is great.
Sent out a tweet yesterday asking people to describe how service has impacted their lives. And clearly they intended it to be like, oh, little Johnny went into the Army and he came out a better man. And But instead it was just a ton of posts, just people just saying stuff like, my father went away to war, he came back, and now he's like an abusive alcoholic that wakes up screaming in the middle of the night. Like, it's just like a bunch of these.
How has serving impacted you? And this is the official U.S. Army tweet that they tweeted out, and the comments and the responses. Jared, you
should read a few of them.
Yeah, it's find a good one.
Yeah.
Or a bad one, really.
Yeah, well, it sounds like most of them have been.
I didn't serve, but my brother did. He never went to war, but still shot himself in the head. So,
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
They're all like that.
My God.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty dark. I mean, but, it's the other fact, too, is that, I still, every now and then you're reminded of the push-up challenge by, that seems to make its way around social media. But what is it, like once every 22 minutes, a veteran takes his own life?
Yeah.
So, maybe that's another thing to maybe think about tomorrow, like glorifying, like, oh, these brave men and women, like, sacrifice for our freedom. Think of how many people saw the horrors of war and, you know what I mean? Like, saw that shit firsthand and then, like, can't cope with it the rest of their lives, like, it's insane. But, yeah, some of these
it makes me wonder how bad it's been, previously in history, but it just wasn't talked about because there were no psych departments.
Well,
or
they would
anything
just
like that.
they would just call it he's been shell shocked.
Yeah.
They didn't have like terms like PTSD or like trauma. It was just
Right,
like, oh, he
yeah.
got shell shocked, and you're like, oh, okay, he's just a crazy guy now. There was no like humanity to it. But now, like, you see just like around you, you see that this going on, and it's it's pretty
Sad.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, sad and terrifying and bad. But
Yeah.
so that backfired spectacularly.
Yeah, I
on
mean,
them.
it's just I'm scrolling down. I mean, there's so many that are just dark. Like there's one guy was like, since serving, he's like, well, my wife fucked 10 guys, and I can no longer listen to fireworks.
Oh my God.
I mean, some
Wow.
were sarcastic,
Oh, no.
but some are like
Yeah.
deep and like really
Yeah.
fucking dark. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Individuals got to think about that tomorrow, like on Memorial Day. Just like, maybe think about. But yeah, this Twitter feed definitely backfired on the Army. That's great.
Yeah, well, we've just been, like Matt was saying, we've been in wars for so long. We forget that literally since 9/11, and I was in middle school, we have been in a perpetual state of war. We're like closing in on 3 decades now,
Mhm.
and we don't even really know what we're fighting for. There's no clear goal.
democracy, dude.
Yeah, but it's not even that really.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah, but seriously, these are things to contemplate
Mm.
and think about. Like, what are we bombing? Who are we killing? Why are Americans dying? What are they really dying for? We don't really have clear answers to that, but we watch the news and it's all like, we have to do this,
Everyone's
we got
a
to take
threat.
this objective, and everything, global terrorism and all this stuff. And it's like, well, at what point are we actually directly threatened from a couple people in the Middle East deciding they're going to, fight the 2,000-year war with themselves? It's
Right.
like, and we've never been affected by it before up until now,
Well,
supposedly.
the only way we've been affected is through just backlash,
Yeah, but
through blowback.
yeah, blowback, exactly,
Yeah.
where we're like, well, we're going to have a base here, and we're just going to carve out a piece of land
Right.
that's going to be ours in some, sacred territory for somebody over in the Middle East. And yeah, we wonder why they're pissed at us. And a lot of people don't realize is that we're...
Well, why'd they have to put their country next to all our bases?
but we're on their homeland. This is their territory. That's
Right.
like, can you imagine if, Iran was just like, oh, look, we need a military base right next to Washington, D.C.,
Yeah,
and you guys are going to be cool with it.
right.
We're just going to do it. I mean, how
We're
would...
sending we're sending.
I mean, you think
carriers
about it,
over.
just how
If
ridiculous
Iran
it
put a
sounds.
country next to our aircraft carriers
Yeah.
in the
Right.
Persian Gulf. I mean, the brazen acts.
The obscenities. Yeah.
But yeah, it's insane. Like, put the shoe on the other foot.
Yeah, just think about that stuff. And
Like,
what
if
have we
China had
accomplished
bases
from
in
all
Mexico
this?
and Canada and in the Caribbean, we'd probably be like, "The fuck is going
Yeah.
on here?" But America.
But the
world
thing is,
police.
people think, but there are people who support this idea of like, well, if the U.S. isn't doing it, well, then China would be doing it.
Right.
Which is just crazy thinking because it's not even necessary. Like this is like the least threatening world that we've ever lived in.
Yeah.
The only
Safest.
threats exist because we're creating them, because we have to antagonize nuclear powers, and it's just ridiculous. We could be living in just like mostly peace right now, but
Yeah, it's like
that's not that doesn't benefit.
if you could imagine the defense budget, what's spent on it just spent on something else or just not taken to begin with,
Right.
world would probably be a better place.
And
Well,
what
and-
is
sure.
revealed, who knows? Like,
Well, there's so
stuff
much
that's
of that.
off the books, the
Yeah.
Pentagon, like what they have off the books. That
Oh,
we don't
sure,
even know
yeah, yeah.
about. Jesus.
Well, and then what
And
we
that
do
they
know
can't
about
pass
is
an
that
audit for.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
They haven't passed an audit, or they can't. Like, it's insane.
and they
Yeah.
have billions and billions and billions of dollars in funds that they don't know what happened to.
Or the $3 trillion that just disappeared
Yeah.
the day before 9/11,
Oh.
and then
Oh.
it
What?
hit the side of the building. Yeah, fucking look it up.
$3 trillion? What?
It was like, look it up. It's true story. Rumsfeld held a press conference. They did an audit. The Pentagon was missing like trillions of dollars that was going on for years, and it just happened to be the side of the Pentagon that was hit happened to be the side of the building where these records were kept.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of paper records
Yeah.
that weren't transcribed into electronic form. That was like Building 7 mainly. It's like, what happened to Building 7?
Yeah,
Oh, a couple chairs caught on fire and then the building collapsed.
Yeah,
like
it's,
if that's the case, and a lot of us are in really unsafe engineered buildings, because if something catches fire like that, an entire building comes down. I mean, but there was all sorts of, fiscal records and documents and probably top secret clearance documents that were stored there. It just went up in smoke, literally.
Damn.
Yeah, I have to look that. But yeah, it was they were audited, they were missing, and then 9/11 conveniently happened on. This was on the 10th. They announced it. It was like ABC. It was like legit news. It wasn't like this wasn't coming from Alex Jones.
Wasn't there another
Well,
story
then
where they lost money?
Well, was there?
There
I
was
thought
one
there was
recently
a story too.
in the
Where
Pentagon.
Wasn't there a story that somebody reported on 9/11 and it didn't happen yet? Like, so some people knew in advance that things were going down.
The Tower
Wait,
7,
did this turn into a 9/11 conspiracy?
No, maybe. I don't know. Kind of went
Well, I
off the
mean,
rails
it's
here.
all
Not
part
off
of the
the rails,
Memorial
but-
Day thing, though.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's
definitely.
related to like military service and government being overreaching to
since
points where we don't
9/11,
know.
yeah, I guess maybe that's the other aspect too. Since 9/11, that mentality of this nationalism and
Yeah, you
tech
didn't
for
really-
service.
right.
Well, that's when things really took a change to you can't question anything.
Right.
Yeah, that
Because if you
too.
noticed, it's like if you question 9/11 to somebody who was like, I had a friend who died there, they get super defensive. Like, I'm sorry about your, seriously, I hate people dying anywhere. But why can't we question these issues just like we should question every other issue that the government partakes
so
in?
triggered by it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
To this day. Like,
Like they
Yeah.
want to fight you, like hurt you physically. He's like, dude, I just want to have a conversation. It sucks. I mean, I'm not, saying that the people who died shouldn't have died. They shouldn't have died. Period. We shouldn't have had any of these situations happen. And I'm sorry for the people who lost loved ones in the 9/11 tragedy. It doesn't mean we can't question what really happened because we don't know. There's so many variables and questions on this.
yeah,
Sure.
how much like.
And it all
our
directly
policy-
comes back to right after 9/11, we got into a 30-year war right afterwards, and we don't even know what we're fighting for anymore. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think ever since 9/11, everything changed. And then you have the Patriot Act. We lost so many civil
Yep.
liberties. How many
The
trillions
NSA
in
spying.
debt? NSA spying.
American flag bumper stickers.
Yeah, and then and then all the lives that were lost in Iraq and Afghanistan. Look at Iraq, and it's just turned into
we literally destroyed that country.
yeah.
I mean, it was a fully functioning country. It was actually one of the better economies in the Middle East.
Libya, we've gotten involved there. Now they literally have slave auctions, that are on YouTube. Apparently, you can watch tune in and watch live, slave trades that are going on in Libya.
Jesus.
Yeah, apparently haven't. But I read an article a couple weeks ago. I was listening to Rogan's podcast, and he was saying they literally have live stream slave Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
So wait, and then Google allows this on their platform, but they're going to kick Alex Jones off.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
You can have
crazy.
slave trading, but you can't have
Yeah, but
fucking.
Well, because
It's-
Alex Jones talked about it, and he was like, "Oh, that's I talked about the slave trade that happened over there."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Nope, sorry, demonetized,
Right.
because
kicked off."
Yeah, Alex Jones deplatformed because of putting chemicals in the water and
Yeah.
the frogs gay. But hey, we'll
Well, no-
live stream.
Yeah, we'll live stream
auctions in
slave
Libya.
auctions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
makes sense.
This is community standards, people. We've got strict guidelines here.
Well, the funny thing about Alex Jones, and we're getting a little off topic, but I just thought of it. Well, I'm sure I'm not the first person that thought of this. I might have actually stolen it from somebody. But, so he, a lot of people bring up the fact that he somehow may have inspired people to harass the Sandy Hook people, right? That's the big thing that they bring up against him. And while there's no evidence of him directly saying, go to these people's houses and protest and blah, 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 the fact that you can get in trouble for inciting something, or not inciting something, but possibly, influencing people to do something. But yet, the New York Times influenced people to support these wars.
Well, we also
and they're
have-
allowed to have a platform,
Who-
right?
right, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, okay.
Well, who was it? Maxine
Where's the
Waters is like,
consistency?
go harass, Trump supporters and Republicans.
Mm.
But, they're never held accountable for those actions of people
Yeah.
who actually do that stuff. But Alex Jones talks about something and he gets kicked off the platform for inciting violence.
Right.
It's like the double standards are glaring.
It's super selective. It's
And all
getting
your-
worse.
I mean, Alex Jones has pulled quite a few stunts where he just came on other people's sets or
Yeah. Oh,
Trespass.
Chank.
Or
Yeah,
what was
Chank Unger or whatever.
Yeah, the young
From
Turk.
Well, yeah,
he did
YT.
Young
He
Turks,
was-
but he's also like just gone into buildings, and I know I've seen videos where he's done that where he's just gone into buildings, and I don't know, sometimes he loudspeakers, sometimes he doesn't. And
Yeah.
people are like, can you please leave? And he just
Yeah, well, he's kind of an instigator.
Well, then I
That-
mean,
Yeah.
then call then
he went to the airport and was like, found Bernie Sanders, like, Bernie Sanders, you want to talk about global healthcare?
That's a pretty good one, Paul. That's pretty solid.
Well, I mean,
That's
all
pretty
right. Well,
good.
if he's
He
on your
makes you
property
laugh.
doing
It's
that,
so
then,
interesting.
yeah.
handle it and do what you got to do. But I don't know if that
I don't
requires deplatforming the guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's a lunatic, but
Well, the thing, the
But you gotta like decipher what he says because he's like garble, 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 and then he says something like globalism's bad, and then he garble, garble, garble. You know, it's like so he's like you gotta like pick and choose the information.
Yeah.
Because he goes on tangents all the time, and I think that's why some people like they watch him sheerly for the entertainment because he is really funny. Like
Sure.
you're like listening to him and you're laughing. You're like this guy's nutso wacko.
But you're also like validating his like whole, the Illuminati are shutting us down
Yeah.
when you actually shut him down.
Yeah, well
right?
that's exactly the point he's
You know.
and that's the point he's been making.
Because
too.
right. But if you would just let him stay on the platform, he would say, he'd be like, dude, you're allowed to exist. You're alive and you're on this platform. But now that you've kicked him off, it's like that gives him more fodder for like the Illuminati shit.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
at the day after, like
And the
he was-
globalist. Yeah.
And the globalists.
Yeah, I mean, like I can tell you,
Zuckerberg's a lizard.
The Trilateral Commission. The Bilderberg Group.
yeah,
They get together and they have these high-level meetings.
and they're sacrificing children.
I have the docs. Bohemian Grove. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes.
I'm telling you, the aliens were involved.
Dude, that's really good.
Interdimensional space vampires.
Yeah. On the fifth dimension where all this stuff happens. I've seen it. I mean, not directly, but I've heard it from friends who have friends in the government.
High-level classification.
Oh my god.
So I think we can all guess what we'll be doing in the after-hour show.
Oh, yeah.
The
Matt,
best
what were-
Alex Jones
impersonation.
impersonation.
Matt, what were you going to say?
now, like it does kind of validate Alex Jones when they ban him from these platforms.
Right.
Definitely.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
yeah. So like I remember the day he was banned. I actually went to InfoWars. It was like the first
Yeah,
time in a long
I did
time.
too.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, just to see like what they had to say. You know, and I do feel sorry, and I feel like if Alex Jones doesn't have free speech, nobody has free speech. You know, and that goes for everybody.
Yeah, it's
Right.
He got booted from YouTube, right?
He got booted.
Well, he got
from
booted
everything.
from all of them.
Yeah,
basically.
YouTube, Twitter,
all the major
Facebook,
platforms.
What was a couple other ones too? But yeah, and it was all in the same day. It was within like a 4-hour period. So
It was coordinated. Yeah.
yeah, to act like it wasn't coordinated, it was like, oh, we all decided at the same time our community guidelines were
Well, I think-
violated, and we're going to ban.
I think
them.
he was banned from one of them before the others, but
Well, Twitter, he was banned from Twitter last,
last, yeah.
but that was like two weeks or something later. I don't know the exact timeline, but it was significantly later than
well,
I
apparently,
than the other ones.
from what I heard on, you were talking about Joe Rogan earlier. From what I heard on his podcast, apparently Jack didn't really want to ban him, but was just everybody, all the fucking super libs that he hired there were screaming at him.
Yeah, well, it's just a circle.
And he was like,
it's
"All
a
right,
community over there of,
Right.
of like-minded people. They all
Twitter's
think the
the
same
Wild
way.
West of all the platforms.
Well, yeah, Twitter is probably the most free,
Yeah.
which is kind of sad. But like you can there's porn on there, which now you can't have nipples on Facebook anymore.
Yeah, but so apparently now people are getting banned though from Twitter from just saying learn the code.
Wait, no
Mm.
nipples
yeah, there was that whole thing.
Well,
on
in-
Facebook?
No, you're not allowed to have nipples on Facebook.
So if
anymore.
we do like a shirtless podcast?
well, not female nipples. Well,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
wait.
there's actually my friend was showing me there's a page or a group that he's in where people find pictures that get through the Facebook filters and just post them.
oh my god.
But yeah, apparently like they've you can't post porn on YouTube anymore. You can't put any nudity or anything.
Like, what if you took like female nipples and then you Photoshop them over a man's nipples?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, whatever machine learning they have is intelligent enough to like distinguish between like.
AI can
Oh wait! I
So wait,
I
we're
have the
saying
best
AI is
question, dude.
sexist?
I have the best
This
question.
is kind of messed
What
up.
if you identify
This
as
is
a
whole
male?
Another
Well,
rabbit
well,
hole.
Or what if you're like you have a wiener but you identify as female? I mean, are you not allowed to show those nipples? Or if you have boobs but you identify as male, are you allowed to show those nipples?
Yeah.
I mean, you should be, right?
Or if you're a male and you
I
have
mean-
We
man
lived in a
tits
just world.
and you identify as a female, See, this is
Yeah.
we're like
Dude, we
crossing
gotta-
into some like I don't know.
The
man,
whole
this
what ifs are crazy.
Yeah.
Like, how do you program that?
slippery slope on Facebook. How are you going to train the AI, the artificial intelligence?
You
to
just
identify
train a bunch of
nipples?
SJWAI.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way to do it.
Fuck. It's going to happen. You heard it here first.
Hey, question. We didn't put this in the topics or whatever, but did you guys see the preview for the new Terminator movie?
I did.
I did. I don't know. I don't know what to think. Like what's the time frame?
I'm excited. I think it comes out in like November. But Linda Hamilton, that's a pretty iconic role to bring back. You know,
Yeah.
it looks like she's
What's she
still.
been doing? Like she hasn't done anything since.
Yeah, she looks like she's in shape. She's got to be like 90 years old.
Yeah, she must.
She looks old as fuck, bro.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, yeah, she's like kicking ass though.
What's
I-
the time frame of
Did
this
you
movie?
see that?
show?
No, I have not. I've read a few articles about it, but I haven't seen the.
I saw the trailer. I
The
think you
trailer
posted
for
it
it.
the other night.
Yeah, like
It's
Schwarzenegger.
got Arnold in it, yeah.
Schwarzenegger has like a white beard. You know, he's like getting old.
Dude, oh,
come over here.
Oh, hold on.
as a
Speaking of
Terminator,
Schwarzenegger, did anybody
and I
see the
crush
video
you.
of him getting drop kicked?
Yes, I did.
Oh my
I didn't
god!
see
dude.
it.
So
I heard about
there
it.
was a whole thing. Like, I was actually talking about this with my dad about how the bodyguards totally dropped the ball on that one.
Well,
'Cause
yeah.
if you watch a video, like, your job as a bodyguard is not to watch directly what your client's doing. It's watching around your client so
Right.
that they don't get drop kicked in the back like Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yeah.
did. But it was funny because he was talking about it because it was like a fly. I didn't know what happened. I turned around and he was already down.
Well, yeah, he was like, I thought it was the crowd jostling
yeah.
me. And this guy just literally like ran up and just drop kicked him in the back, and he just like moved like 6 inches forward.
Yeah, he was like,
"What?"
what was that? Somebody pushed me.
a drop
It
kick.
was yeah,
you
dude,
didn't
Yeah, must have had like.
And then he was
terrible
yelling,
form.
"Help me! I need a Lamborghini." Or
No,
something, which
okay,
is apparently
so-
like a meme that I've never heard of, but it's a.
Yeah, but the
Think the guy
dude,
was paid to do this?
I don't know.
I
What
don't
was this
know.
dude's story?
So-
Well, he was in Africa.
Yeah, he was
Right?
in Africa, and then right after the guy drop kicks Arnold and the bodyguard, obviously, then he
Then they're
jumps
like,
into
"Oh, yeah,
action, and then he
let's
grabs him. Then the
this
guy
guy."
starts yelling. He's like, "Call 911! Call ambulance! I'm in needed help!" And he's like calling for help.
Yeah.
Like right after he drop kicked Arnold.
have to check
And
this out.
there's two different videos. There's one from like you're Arnold and I'm like
Yeah.
looking at you, and you see the guy running up and drop kicking, and then the other one's from like back in the room, and then you see the guy run up and drop kick Arnold. One looks worse than the other. Like just the angle makes it look like Arnold, like, you know, like his neck cringed and everything.
Yeah.
But the one where it's like in front of him, he kind of like, he looks like he gets pushed into the person, and he
So,
turns
like,
around.
Did anybody ever find out like what happened? Like,
I
was he
haven't
just
followed through the
dared?
story.
Like,
No.
could you imagine he was just like hanging out with his friends in the gymnasium, and they're like, "I dare you to go drop kick Arnold." Like, oh, because I could totally see that happening.
But it was just so interesting. Right after he attacks somebody, then he's calling for like 911 help.
Well, no, he was saying.
know?
Apparently, there's a meme where it's "Help me! I need a Lamborghini." I don't know the whole backstory, but that's apparently what he was yelling.
Oh, so it's probably something like, "Help me! I'm going to sue you so I can buy a Lamborghini." At least that's how I would read that meme. You know what I mean?
Maybe I don't know.
It's like those people
I think
in
it's just
China.
like Baba Louie, Baba Louie.
Well, have
like
you
that
seen
kinda
those
shit.
those videos of people in China
Baba
where they
Booey.
have the dash cams?
Yeah.
And they drive and then they stop, and then literally somebody runs into the car, and then they have to make it look like they hit the car, so then they slide slowly off of it. I was like, sorry, you got you in dash cam. You know, you ran into my stopped vehicle and tried to sue me. You know.
Right.
So I'm sure there may be some sort of thing like that behind it. I don't know.
Maybe. I think it's just a crazy person.
Yeah, well, for sure, obviously.
Yeah,
But anyways, yeah, that was a little bit of a tangent.
yeah, new Terminator movie. That's why it came about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's the time frame of it though? Like, when's it supposed to take place? Like, because the last one I saw was Terminator 2. Terminator 3, I didn't even bother. So
You know, I think it was supposed to take place like a few years after Terminator 2. I think it was supposed to be like Terminator 3 never existed.
it's like redoing
But she's
it.
old though.
So they're kind of
I
like.
believe. Maybe I'd have to read into it again.
I thought
that's what I heard.
it felt like it was supposed to just be modern times.
So this is like a situation where it's like, fuck, we got to conclude Rocky, and they do Rocky 5, and it's like, fuck, just disregard Rocky 5.
Yeah,
we
we'll
just
come-
did
yeah.
Rocky, and then we ended it. So you think this is the time frame is
It's gonna be like how
before
Star Wars
Terminator
reset
3,
the
and it's going to
universe.
be like, hey, disregard Terminator 3 never existed, because I never
yeah,
even saw it.
I think
'Cause
that's
I heard
it's
it
supposed to be
sucked
like.
so bad.
I believe it's supposed to be like Terminator 3 never existed.
You mean
Oh,
like
okay.
like a rewrite of the canon, more or
Okay,
less?
so they're like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going to finish it with this one, disregard. I get, okay.
We'll
That's
find
the
out
thing,
when
I
the
was
movie
kinda
comes
confused
out.
watching
Yeah.
the trailer, I'm like, what the fuck's the time frame of this? I don't even know.
Did you guys see the last one where they just used like
See,
a
that's the thing.
CGI Arnold?
Oh, really? That's lame.
Yeah.
Some of these
I mean,
movies are too CGI heavy, and it's just like,
I still thought it was entertaining.
Was it called Extinction?
I can't
Yeah, I
remember
think that
what it was
was-
called.
Yeah.
I thought it was decent.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Nothing to write home and tell mom about. I did just see the latest Predator movie last night, though.
What? There's a Predator out?
Yeah, I think it came out about a year ago.
Oh yeah,
Like
Predator in space.
I think
that
the
one?
best part about it. I think the best part about it. There was a joke that was like, if your mom was a video game, she would be rated E for everyone. It was something like that. I think.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty hilarious. I thought that was probably the best part of the movie. But I mean, it was
A mom
entertaining.
joke, that was it.
You know, like if you're bored and you're looking for something to watch.
Yeah.
If you're like me, I usually end up watching something on Netflix for 20 minutes, and you're like, "Oh, this blows," and then just do something else. So I think you'll probably make it through it. It was decent.
Cool.
Yeah, movie tangent.
Okay, so where are we at here? So Trump employs emergency powers to sidestep Congress and sell weapons to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is this how we MAGA, guys?
This is yeah, definitely. And Ivanka Trump was over there apparently saying like Saudi Arabia's done so much to
To
increase
advance
the rights,
women's
advance
rights.
women's rights.
Oh
And
my
it's
god.
like,
Is that real? Did she really say that?
yeah, apparently she.
Well, wait. They can drive now, though, dude. So
Yeah,
they still have to wear fucking
yeah.
cloths over their head, but
gotta
they can
wear
at least they can drive a car
full
now.
on, yeah. But
So my thing in this whole situation is executive powers as an extremely slippery slope where you have somebody in charge who can just be like, well, congressional authority didn't give me the answer I wanted, so I'm just going to claim emergency powers. And I think this is a thing. Trump's doing it, so Trump supporters are going to be for it. But could you imagine if it was Hillary and she was like,
Right.
yeah, I'm going to use my executive
Obama,
authority.
yeah.
Wasn't that what they were
we
going
would all
after
be freaking
Hillary
out.
for? Like, the Clinton Foundation in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so we really need
But
to
now that Trump's
look
doing
at
it,
this.
it's like,
scrutiny.
this is fine.
Like could be, it's good for now for the Trump supporters, but next president possibly not a Republican, and then if they do the same thing, and it's just one of those things where it's like progressively more and more and more and more power goes to the leader, and we're sliding down that dictatorship
so he's using
slope. You know
apparently
what I mean?
emergency provisions of a law governing arms sales to immediately sell to Saudi Arabia and other Gulf allies. So the Senate apparently is looking into this loophole, but yeah, he's. So the package Congress was notified of Friday is that composed of more than 20 separate deals and is valued at $8.1 billion. So
That's a lot of money.
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sure Raytheon's pretty stoked right now.
I lived in Tucson for a while. Worked right outside of Raytheon. If it wasn't for Raytheon, I don't even know if Tucson would stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah, a lot of like podunk towns wouldn't like.
I mean, the thing is,
Exist if
Tucson's
it weren't
like economically depressed, so it's like literally the people who work for Raytheon are the only people who have sustainable income in that entire town. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
That's
in Tucson?
Yeah.
that's the military-industrial complex. Like at least one. It's a good documentary I saw about this. It was Why We Fight. Did you guys ever see that documentary?
No.
It came out years ago, like 2008. Same guy.
It's on Infowars?
No, but it's free on YouTube. It's pretty like widespread, but it was it just really brought up like Eisenhower's farewell speech before leaving office, and that was pretty like be wary of the military-industrial complex. And it's like
So
those
I
are your
also
last
heard
speech.
this on Rogan, but apparently so he says beware the military-industrial complex.
he actually-
the original text was supposed to be beware the congressional military-industrial complex.
Exactly.
But they wouldn't let him say it.
Yeah, and he not redacted it, but they have
just
the original
rewrote it.
transcript, but
Rewrote
you
it.
see it like crossed out. And you figure like, all right, you're president for 8 years. You're a general. You led the campaign in Europe and then also in Korea, and you figure you're a 5-star general, and you saw this for 8 years after after World War II, post, we're Cold War in the middle of the 50s, and like imagine having someone like that who's a president who sees all the bullshit and still couldn't stop the like war machine.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, and that's what-
imagine how bad it is now after running for all these years.
And that's how the interstate highway system came about, was the fact that it was basically diverting funds, and that's what killed all the railroads on the East Coast. Well, basically killed the railroad throughout this country. Was that Eisenhower diverted. Like, he was like, well, I don't want to spend money on, like, building, more nuclear weapons and the missile systems and God knows what else was going on during the Cold War. The space race, trying to go to, who the fuck knows? Crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of money that was spent. So basically he was like, well, I can divert it into building highways, their jobs, and I can claim it as like, well, in case of nuclear war with Russia, now we have
a transportation
we have a system throughout the
highways,
exactly
like
that
a
we
Roman system or whatever.
So that's how the interstate highways came about. So in that documentary, Why We Fight, they get into that, and one of the main things where what you were saying, Jared, about how he put in the speech the congressional and he took it out was the fact that you went on the they used the B-2 stealth bomber as an example in this documentary, but at least one part on that plane is made in 50 states. So imagine like, oh, hey, we don't really need a B-2 stealth bomber anymore because it's like we really don't need it. It's obsolete. We're just going to nix this program. So imagine you're some schmuck in some podunk town and you're the congressman and there's like, well, I'm Congressman so-and-so and I voted no. I voted no, or I voted yes to cancel the B-2. That motherfucker would go back to his hometown and be like, a whole factory or a whole plant or multiple industries would shut down based off of that. Like,
well, the whole town would be out, more or less out of work because the town works. That's like these problem with like Detroit Motors and General Motors up there is that the whole entire town is completely dependent on the factories operating.
Right.
If the factory shuts down, there's no income because there's no other jobs in those towns.
Right.
So it's the same thing, like you said.
Yeah, the
Government,
cronyism.
Yeah.
And like, look, just here in Maryland, it's insane. You look at congressmen the districts are so fucking gerrymandered in the state of Maryland, but the congressman Rupersberger, you look at his shitty district. I mean, he's the biggest neocon. He's like just a neocon Democrat. But you look at like his fund. You look at all the military bases, NSA, the multiple different weapon contractors are all conveniently within his congressional district. And year after year, if you look up that motherfucker's like, it's like Open Secrets. You can look at like the campaign contributions to anybody running for office, state, at all different levels.
Yeah.
And you look at his funding and you can look it up now. It's like top 25, all fucking military industrial complex. That's it. Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, AEI, like all these like weapons contractors, and it's fucking insane. Because if he would say like if a congressman comes back to their district, congressman or woman, and like, hey, we're gonna nix this program, you're losing like in these desolate towns where it's like or just where there's not much opportunity. That's it. It's crazy, and that's what they get into in that. It's called Why We Fight, and it really gets into that. Where no wonder we're still. This might be going back to the first topic, but no wonder we're always in a state of perpetual war. Is the fact that there's such a fucking
there's
hidden,
an industry around,
like there's an industry
built.
that's in such plain view, but so like most Americans are just completely fucking oblivious to that. Like, hey, happy Memorial Day, or hey, here we're at this Memorial Day picnic. Let's honor the fallen. Hey,
Happy
see you back at work on
Day.
Tuesday. We're gonna build some more drones.
Weapons, yeah.
We're gonna build some more fucking parts for God knows what at this plant. But it's like you're directly contributing to. It's insane. It really like, and it talked about the revolving door of within the Pentagon, or within like how you're in government, and then you're brought on as a consultant for this company, and then by the way, now you're back in government, like individuals like Dick Cheney. The fact that, wait a minute, you were the Secretary of State, then you stepped down, now you're fucking like CEO of Halliburton, a company that grows like ridiculous within a short amount of time, steps down conveniently like 2 years before he's nominated as or not brought in as vice president, as a candidate. And it's like, I've been out for like a year and a half as CEO. I'm no longer operated in the company, even though I have massive shares. And now you're in the fucking White House. Like, you're in the White House. So it's not like, hey, yeah, we probably should go to war in Iraq. Well, you know what? If we do go to war in Iraq, you know what? We'll it just, where there's so much fucking
cronyism. It's
Cronyism and
massive.
awful
Yeah.
influence, where now you have the Boltons in Trump's ear, you have the Pompeos, you have like all these bad influences that just have so much to gain and nothing to lose. Whereas tomorrow, and we're
When they can act like they can defer that responsibility of starting another war, it'd be like, well, I didn't start the war. It was Trump started the war.
yeah,
I just supplied all the weapons.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. So this fucking arms deal where Trump is just completely bypassing Congress and emergency powers. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is almost
for
we're
weapons.
almost pretty much in
For weapons.
a military dictatorship, more or less.
This is not like a hurricane hitting, New Orleans or Texas or Florida, that he needs to get funds down there to help people who are stuck on their roofs. We're literally sending weapons to
Saudi
the Middle
Arabia,
East.
like, hey, Saudi Arabia, like, they have an awful track record. Their human rights,
Right.
it's like their human rights record is awful.
What about Iran, bro? But what about
What?
Iran, bro?
I mean, who knows? Might be. Well, yeah, it's just insane. The fact that emergency powers, like, this isn't $8.1.
But that's the whole thing we need to
$1
really keep our mind on and our eyes on, is just the use of executive authority to get things done that otherwise couldn't get done normally, because the government's designed to operate slow so that irrational decisions don't just happen like that. But now, Trump's in office and there's so many Trump supporters who are like, yeah, Trump's doing it, cool. But, what if this was Obama? What if this was Hillary? What if this is a Democrat president? We'd all be pissed. We'd be like, you see, Hillary
It's a
sending more
tyranny.
uranium to Russia?
Right.
It's like, but it's Trump, and Trump's, it's like, well, I wanted good relations with Russia, or I wanted the best relations, so I decided half of the nuclear arsenal straight to Russia. Okay, it's gonna be great, believe me. And everybody's like, yeah, cool, Russia, let's be friends.
Oh, fucking hell! Crazy world we live in.
Oh man. Wow.
Dude, we
Yeah.
kind of skipped over Assange here.
Oh yeah, still yeah. So, Jared, you had the article up, right? That,
I don't have it up, but he was indicted on charges of violating the Espionage Act, which I believe can carry a life sentence.
So he was indicted by the United States, right?
Yes.
So he's living in another country. They decide they're going to arrest him and send him to the United States for charges that we decided to indict him on. Is that
Right.
how
I
I'm
think.
understanding the situation?
Actually, that's a good question. Where is he in custody right now? I
Is
think
it-
he's
isn't
in
he-
custody in.
He would
in
know.
Great
He was
Britain, right?
He was in a embassy, wasn't he? Where he was arrested.
Well, he was arrested in the embassy because they basically
in an embassy for another country.
So it was the Ecuadorian
Ecuadorian
embassy in London.
So how much authority does the United States have to be able
Well,
to go into an embassy of
I
another
think he's
nation?
getting extradited though.
Yeah, but it's just crazy, the whole situation. You just think
Yeah.
about it. It's like,
Well,
you're not safe if the United States government deems you a target.
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah.
And you're supposedly safe, within the borders of another country's embassy, and the government's like, hey, let's call the Ecuadorian president, or whatever it is, prime minister, I don't know.
Yeah.
We need this guy. Suddenly he gets extradited. Conveniently at the same time, charges are being pressed against him.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
We got deep in the docks when that all went down. Remember, like, he was newly elected. The
Ecuadorian president.
Yeah, and then
wasn't there something
they took
with,
an
like, the
IMF
Federal
loan.
Reserve? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
the
it was like
IMF.
about 3-4 months prior that the internet, the IMF loaned him, like, was approved for, like, this massive loan. So clearly the United States was like, oh, cool, hey, we'll have discussions, Ecuador. So that probably got the ball rolling. Where fast forward a
They
couple
were
months
starting
later,
seeds because of the WikiLeaks stuff.
because he was there in that embassy for years, and for prior, the former, I guess, prime minister in Ecuador, they were allowing Assange to stay there, and they weren't cooperating with the United States. And then, we got this new puppet in Ecuador, and hey, we'll give you we'll keep your country perpetually in debt. Here's an IMF loan to sort out your, like, fucked up, because I guess their government's so far in debt.
Right.
And it's like collapsing. It's like another Venezuela probably. And so now, hey, just cooperate with us, and then they turn over Assange.
How long until this happens to Snowden?
I was just thinking that.
You know,
But I mean, the
Well,
fact
we-
that he's in Russia is like probably
Yeah.
the
you can
fact.
visit libertariancountry.com.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
The libertariancountry.com.
Yes, enter promo code PRL podcast to save 10%.
Yeah.
10%. That's
Also-
a deal.
Also, yeah,
Also, we have a Patreon now.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, you can visit us.
Patreon.com/punkrocklibertarians.
Yeah, and if you contribute a minimum of $1 per month, you will receive access to our After Hours podcast, which we record right after this one. And
It's
until next
super dope.
time, live free.
Or die.
All right.
Right on.
One sec, fellas.
Yeah, the Espionage Act.